guys, welcome back to the Car Compulsion YouTube channel. You're joining me in the M2 Comp. I'm actually just out for a bit of a drive, wanted to put together a video. Over the last week or so, I found myself in a conundrum. A conundrum I find myself in a lot over the last 3 years, where I start to get a little bit itchy feet in regards to the car. I found myself looking at different sites advertising different cars. I attended a car meet last weekend, which my previous video showed, and looking around, started to get a little bit of an itch for what else might be available, and you know, what might be on the market. And I found myself, as I said, in a conundrum where for the first time in probably a couple of years in the cars that I've had, I found myself thinking, what can replace the M2 Competition in the budget that I can afford? And the answer is not much. I've been looking at different things. Now, to be clear, I'm not ready to change the M2, but I get that little itch and I've scratched it. But I think looking around at what's available on the market in the segment that the M2 Competition sits in, it's a really difficult thing for the money that I'm paying to find an alternative that I would switch out to. If you think about the M2 Competition as a car, it sits in a bracket of hyper hatches, saloons. It doesn't sit in the normal hot hatch category, and those cars within its segment are minimal. You have the RS3, you have, obviously, you know, you can look at maybe the A45S, and you get around that sort of 400 to 420 brake mark, and it rules out a lot of the other hot hatches that I've owned. So I was looking through and I was thinking, what really does compare? Is this the best bang for the buck that I'm going to get? And these are the kind of thoughts that I came up with. Now, the fact that the M2 Competition sits so far out of that hot hatch bracket, in my opinion, means that I would never revert back unless I was trying to save money, or I was trying to maybe save a little bit of money on petrol. I wouldn't revert back into the traditional hot hatch segment. The only car that, for drivability for me, that came close to the M2 Competition was the Civic Type R FKA. And as I said in a previous video, I've had two of those. Brilliant driver's car, phenomenally good gearbox, immensely unreal handling for a car that's front wheel drive. But again, I've been there, done that, and it isn't something I would consider. So where does it leave me? I mean, you could look at potentially going up to looking at an M4. You can pick up an M4 CS now for really good money. You know, there are a couple of options in there, but then you'll start going up in the price bracket. And in that bracket of, you know, I paid £43,000 for the M2 Comp on finance. And when you look at what's in that sort of bracket, to me, there's only one maker of car that I would consider moving to that I feel would be a comparative to the M2 Competition. You know, if I had infinite money, there'd be loads of other things I would be considering, but I don't. And the plan is to hold on to the M2 Competition until we've bought another house or moved house next year. And then obviously the mortgage company will take a better view of the finance payments that are coming out. And then actually I'll probably be looking for another car. The biggest factor is that because we have a family car, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to need a 4-seater. Now, if you're in the market for a 2-seater sports car, in my opinion, there is only one place you can go. And especially in the budgets that we've spoken about, I don't feel that there is anything comparative. There might be a little bit of difference in the price brackets that we're looking at, but I think, you know, there is only one brand you could look at. And unfortunately for me, the 2-seater car that I would evidently want to buy would not be a Ferrari. But as we were coming close to a Ferrari garage today on the drive, this is Colchester Ferrari. Really nice dealership. They actually have taken the trouble to let me film some of the cars, because for me, if I was going to buy a supercar, there'd be absolutely no comparison. I would be buying a Ferrari above a Lamborghini, above anything else. I think they ooze class. I've loved them since I was a kid. For me, it would be a Ferrari. We'll take a quick look round while I'm here and see what they got on offer. First on this fabulous lineup of Ferraris, 458 Italia, traditional Ferrari red. Then we've got the 488 Spider in white. Looks really, really good in white, actually. Now, if I had the money to buy a Ferrari, this is the Ferrari I would buy. I just think it's absolutely breathtaking. The 812 Superfast, the glorious V12 engine. So now we've ascertained that I absolutely won't be buying a Ferrari. If I had to upgrade from the M2 Competition, there's only one place I'd be going, and there's only one place that I think would give you a comparative driving experience, and that's Porsche. That's right, guys. If I was going to, when I do decide to upgrade from the M2 Competition, the only place that I would be, or the only thing I would be considering, would be a Porsche. Specifically another variant of this one. This one's on sale at the moment. This is a 718 Cayman S. Lovely car. Looks really good on the white with silver wheels. I actually would be looking at potentially this 718 GTS or Cayman GTS, which I think would probably offer a little bit more of a sort of refined and maybe track-like sporty driving experience. But for me, the Cayman is a lovely, lovely looking car. Now, obviously, there's some phenomenal cars here as well. You've got a 911 or a 911 Carrera S, a little bit out of my price bracket. That's a 4S as well. And then we have another 911 Carrera S there. I mean, the Carrera, timeless, absolutely timeless. Porsche haven't changed their design for God knows how many years, and every time, you know, there's little tweaks and refinements, but it's always stayed true to, you know, the design that it's always stuck with, and it's always, no matter when they release it, it always looks like a brilliant car. But back to the Cayman. I actually test drove a 718 Cayman S here at Porsche Centre Colchester. It was a really, really good experience, and actually I was very close to buying the car, and I actually then broke my foot, so I was out of action for quite some time. But to me, although, you know, the Cayman is a reasonably, relatively, you know, common Porsche, shall we say, I still think that it has immense amounts of presence. This one they have on sale here is a manual. Now, this was putting out 350 brake horsepower, but it really is a phenomenal driving experience. When you look at things like handling, when you look at things like poise, road presence, the way that it makes you feel, I think this is probably going to offer the closest deliverable to the M2 Competition. Italian intruder in the Ferrari car park. Look at that bad boy. Italian intruder now escaping the Ferrari car park. Absolute dream car for me, the GT4. Always been a little bit out of my budget range and probably will continue to be. This guy was great. Let me have a look around it. Full carbon spec on this car. It was phenomenal. He uses it on a daily basis, absolutely loves it. Couldn't speak highly enough of it. One day, if budgets prevail, I would love to own a GT4, and wait until you hear the sound of it. Little glimpse into Porsche's future there. That is absolutely unbelievable. Look at that. I'm not sure they're gonna let me drive one with my mere 60 subscriber or 53 subscriber channel, but taking Turbo S, look at the future. It's always great fun to go and look around a car dealership, even if on that day you're not necessarily buying a car. So thank you to Porsche Colchester and Ferrari Colchester for letting me have a look around. I appreciate with the COVID-19 situation that it's a bit restrictive, and I couldn't do much filming etc. But it was just a very sort of blasé and off the top of the head video today, just to talk about my thoughts this week and what I've been thinking about. I don't want to change the M2 Competition. Obviously, if money wasn't an object, of course, then maybe I'd be looking at something different. But from a drivability perspective, having driven both, and I will be able to do a video on driving the Porsche, the 718 Cayman GTS, not the 2020 version, I might add. The 2020 version is brand new out, comes with a 4-litre naturally aspirated engine. It's getting rave reviews, but the one I've been looking at is the pre-2020 Cayman GTS, and I actually will be able to take it out for a drive to do more of a comparative video. I have driven one before, and I have driven a 718 Cayman S before, and I can tell you now that there is a lot of similarity in the way that the car makes you feel, but the Porsche is traditionally a more focused two-seater sports car, and it drives as such. There's no doubt in my mind that the M2 Comp as a package offers exceptional value for money, and there's a couple of reasons for that as well. Is BMW do have a habit of pumping out some very attractive deals on their cars, more so I've noted than any other dealer or any other car brand. You know, the APR percentage, for example, I'm paying 2.9% on this, which is a used car. Unheard of, absolutely unheard of in any other setting. Very, very rare to get outside of a new car. They normally offer substantial deposit contributions, and from my experience, although BMW aren't always the best on trade-in or Part X valuations, they do often do insane dealer deposit or brand deposit contributions on their car. Thanks everyone for joining me on another video. This one was a very sporadic, off the top of the head type video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. It's just a little bit of musings really, and a little bit of open thought into the world of YouTube around what car I feel in that price bracket or in the comparative range, or what brand could be a rival to the M2 Competition in the future. And I think we can safely say that from my thought process, and again it's an opinion, is that Porsche is probably going to be like a logical semi upgrade to the M2 Competition in the price bracket. It's not a hate against Audi, it's not a hate against Mercedes, but if you're looking for like driver's feel, handling, drivability, car connection, I don't think there's anything that comes close to Porsche. I've driven a number of different Porsches, and I think that from that perspective there is a lot of similarities to M cars, and if I can not afford to have the 4 seats in the car, then I think Porsche would definitely be the one for me. Lots more content coming on the channel. As I mentioned, I am going to get to drive a Porsche Cayman GTS. It's a 2018, and I'm going to be doing a direct comparison to the M2 Competition, and talking about it, and obviously talking about everything there is that compares, everything that doesn't compare, and whether there are any niggles, and maybe it'll even answer a few questions for me getting to spend a bit more time in that car. Please hit the subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more content. I'm trying to be super regular, and I'm learning as I go, so I appreciate you watching, and have a great day.